Hi everyone and welcome back. In this lecture, we will talk about customizing your reports, which Power BI provides many different ways to do so. This lecture, we will talk about some tips that can make your Power BI visualizations more compelling, interesting, and customized to your needs. We are doing this in the Power BI desktop, but the same steps apply in Power BI service online as well. So to make any changes, you open a report in Power BI desktop in a report view. Now, if all of these panes are currently collapsed, you can expand this. So let me expand the visualization pane. I will probably keep the filters one collapsed and also the data pane I will expand. So now you are ready to start customizing. Now, the first thing that I'll tell you is to apply a theme, right? In the Power BI desktop, you can apply design changes to your entire report, such as using corporate colors, changing icon sets, or applying new default visual formatting. When you apply a report theme, all visuals in your report use the colors and formatting from your selected theme. So simply go to the view and choose one of the themes from here. So if you select any theme, you see that your colors changes. Not just that, there is a big collection. You can simply expand this ribbon and you see that there are all of these accessible themes. These are Power BI themes. You can simply go to theme gallery. You can choose a theme and then customize it, and then you can browse for themes at different places. So let's say I choose the Bloom theme. You see that all of my modifications are ready, and if you choose this another theme, you will see that the colors will now change accordingly. If you are not happy, you can simply go ahead, click undo, or maybe choose one of the themes that is the base theme that is accessible default. Now, what else you can do is you can change data points in your individual charts. For example, this chart. Or rather, let me create a new page. Let me add a stacked column chart and bring it to the center. Let me add some fields to this. Let me add month in the x-axis and let me add total units sold in the y-axis. Let me just expand this a bit and again bring it to the center. So let's see a few things in this particular chart. First of all, you can change the color of a single data point. So sometimes you want to highlight one particular data point. Maybe it's a sales figure for the launch of a new product, or maybe after launching a new program, there are increased quality scores. You might want to highlight that new program. Suppose a particular month is of very interest for every user of the dashboard. You might want to highlight that particular month. Then you can do all of that by changing its color. So we have this total units sold by month. You just have to go to formatting options and then you choose the columns, right? You expand the columns card and turn on this show all. This will display the colors of each data element, and now you can modify any of the data points. So let's say November or December is your month of interest. So I will click on December and I will choose the color that I probably want, and I will simply uh, select it, change any color that I would like to add, and once selected, this December data point is a nice shade of magenta and certainly it stands out. Uh, so if you expect to add new columns to the chart and want to maintain the same color scheme, make sure that you have the default color set as whatever color that you might want. And even if you change the visualization types and then return, Power BI remembers your selection and always keeps December as orange, or the color that you have selected. Now, another thing is you can change the color of all data points by selecting different colors through different particular months. You might want to mimic your corporate colors of maybe yellow, green. Maybe if you work on Twitter, then you might want to make it blue. If you want to work in Google, you might want to make it colorful as the colors of Google. You can choose to change the color of each data element. Now, Again, there's a small note over here that there are certain circumstances where Power BI will change the data colors. For example, if your visual is created using streaming data and a new month starts, a new category is introduced in your visual, then it's possible that all the colors are reassigned, and you might have to do this change again. So there are all sort of things that you can do with colors, and let's have a look at how you can change the conditional formatting for visualizations. So see, visualizations often benefit from dynamically setting colors based on the numerical value of a field. You could show a different value than what's used for the size of a bar and show two values on a single graph, or you can highlight data points over a certain value or even under a certain value that highlights areas of low or high profit. So let's see how we can do that. So we have this particular chart and we are in the formatting, and then we also are in the colors card, right? Now we what we will do is in the colors, let's reset this back and let's keep everything as blue. So once you click on reset all, everything now changes. Uh, what we can do is change the way the colors appear in this particular chart. So there is this option of FX. So you have this option to add conditional formatting. Now there are different things you have over here. There are first of all rules, right? And then there are other options of gradient and field value. So let's have a look at the basic format of rules, and let's say what field this should be based on. This is the hierarchy of month, and the rule is if the value is or it contains, if the value is, let's say, December, then the text should be an exact match. So let me keep the spelling right and then change the color to one of these colors, and then I click on OK. So you see I added this conditional formatting rule, and you see if, because my month name is December, this has changed to my particular formatting that I have enabled. Another thing that you can do is go to the conditional formatting, change the format style from rules to gradient. Now we are in the gradient format style. The first question it asks is what field should we base this on? So let's change this to our matrix, which is the total units sold. The next question is how should we format empty values? You can choose it to be as 0, which is the default, or you can even add a specific color to format the empty values. And then there are two important points: the minimum, which is the lowest value, the maximum, which is by default the highest value, and the colors associated with the lowest and the highest value. And you see that there is a gradient that goes on from this particular color to the highest particular color. You can even change it. Let's say I change this to a bit of blue. So you see that now the gradient color has changed, and let's say it has changed from this particular orange to this particular blue. So now my formatting will happen basis on the minimum to the maximum, and there are options of adding a custom value in the minimum and even a custom value in the maximum. So you might want to only format the numbers between, let's say, a -100 to a +100. You can add those custom values over here. So currently this is disabled, but if you choose custom, this enables and you can add your specific choice of value. Let's continue to keep it minimum to maximum as the lowest to highest value. I have added colors. Let me change it back to the pink that we had. And now I can simply click on OK. So now you see we have a minimum, and we also have a maximum, and we have a gradient between these two. So particularly the month of May we have the least, and in the month of October we had the highest. So we had these two pure colors, and then the rest of the months have a bit of gradient across their bar. So this is how you can simply set up conditional formatting and add gradients to different values in your charts, or even add colors to a particular data point. Lastly, the important thing that you must notice, this button that removes every conditional formatting that you have enabled in this particular chart. So you can simply click this and you see that your conditional formatting is gone. You can even add conditional formatting and then go to colors, and then there is an option of reset to default that changes the colors to the default values. Again, all of these settings are available under the format your visual, columns, and then colors tab. And then you can choose to modify an individual data point by clicking on show all and changing the color of a particular data point, or simply add the default colors. You can probably choose to color everything in a different way. Or the third thing you can do is change the conditional formatting rules. We have options of rules, gradient, field values that you can use, and then there are different other things that you can do: add rules, reverse color order, change the summarization, change the field that this coloring should be based on, etc. So this was about adding conditional formatting to your charts. We have just covered bar chart in this particular example, but then every chart type, every visualization type, like tables, like area chart, like pie chart, have different formatting options that you can explore and use, and that will make your chart absolutely stand out and easy to read and understand. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Hi, everyone, and welcome back. In this lecture, we will talk about how to use Performance Analyzer to examine report element performance in Power BI Desktop. And yes, this only is available in Power BI Desktop, it's not available in Power BI Service. So in the Power BI desktop, you can find out how each of your report elements, such as visuals and DAX formulas, are performing. By using the performance analyzer, you can see and record logs that measure how each of your report element performs when users interact with them, and which aspects of their performance are most or least resource intensive. Performance Analyzer inspects and displays the durations necessary for updating or refreshing all visuals that user interactions initiate. It also presents the information so that you can view, drill down, or export the results. It can help you identify visuals that affect the performance of your report and identify the reason for the impact. So, we are in the Power BI desktop, and you can go to the view ribbon. Here we have the performance analyzer. This is the performance analyzer, and you can simply click this. This will open up the performance analyzer pane. So this is the performance analyzer pane. Uh, and it's right next to the report canvas and before the visualizations and the data. Now, performance analyzer measures the processing time, includes the time to create or update a visual. So it measures that processing time required to update report elements initiated as a result of any user interaction that results in running a query. For example, adjusting a slicer, you know, uh, in that case, it requires a slicer visual to be modified. Then a query is sent to the data model. Then the visuals are affected and updated as a result of the new settings. So all of that happens, right? So how to enable, how to actually start using Performance Analyzer is, to start the Performance Analyzer, you can simply click on Start Recording. Now, before I even do that, let me tell you what will happen. Once you click on Start Recording, any actions you take in the report are displayed and logged in the Performance Analyzer pane in the order that the visual is loaded by Power BI, right? For example, perhaps you have a report that users have said takes a long time to refresh, or certain visuals in a report take a long time to display when the slider is adjusted. Performance Analyzer can tell you which visual is the culprit and identify which aspects of the visual are taking the longest duration to process. So once you click on Start Recording, The start recording button is grayed out, right? And the stop button is active. And then this is the pane that we have. So it says that recording has started, and it tells interact with your report to see how well it performs. We will do the interaction. What will happen is Performance Analyzer collects and displays the performance measurement information in real time, right? Each time you select a visual, you move a slicer, interact, Performance Analyzer immediately displays the performance results in its pane. So let me do that. We have all of these. Uh, what I can do is maybe select 2014 completely. So you see that moment I change filter, right? And let's say I do a bit of adjustment. So you see I have done a bit of adjustment on the slicer as well. So you see the charts are updated, but there are some entries in the performance analyzer pane. So the pane has more information that can be displayed. There is a scroll bar that appears to navigate to additional information. Now each interaction, there are two interactions that happen. I changed the slicer, I changed the slicer, right? There are two interactions that happen. So each interaction has a section identifier in the pane. It describes the action that initiated the log entries. So there are two interactions that has happened. Now what happens is each visual's log information includes the time spent to complete some categories of tasks. So I change the slider. So I have, let's say, this chart, sum of profit by country. If I expand this, you see that there are some other information. There is a tax query, there's a visual display, there is other. So similarly, you will find all of this information in this particular chart as well, right? Let me minimize this. If I look at slicer, we have the similar three different uh, information. So what are these three different information is? The first is DAX query. If a DAX query was required, this is the time between the visual sending the query and analysis services sending or returning the results. The second is visual display. This is the time required for the visual to draw on the screen, including the time required to retrieve any web images or geocoding, etc. And the last is other. This is the time required by the visual for preparing queries, waiting for other visuals to complete, or performing other background processing. There is another section that comes over here, some another piece of information, that is evaluated parameters. So this is the time spent evaluating the field parameters within a visual. Now all of this is demonstrated in terms of millisecond duration, right? So this duration value indicate the difference between a start and end timestamp for each operation. Most canvas and visual operations execute sequentially on a single user interface thread, which is shared by multiple operations. The reported durations include time spent queued while other operations complete. So you see that once I change the slicer, so in the slicer itself, the DAC query only took 5 milliseconds, the visual display 73, and then there are some other things that took almost 600 milliseconds. And similarly, you can look at, let's say, this chart. So you see that tax query took 6 milliseconds, visual display around 72 milliseconds, and others took around 600 milliseconds. So you can then find out, okay, what is taking the longest. So after you have interacted with the elements of the report that you want to measure with Performance Analyzer, you can select the stop button. Okay. The performance information remains in the pane after you select stop for you to analyze. So you can continue to analyze this. And now if you make any changes, that information will not be recorded because the recording has been stopped. If you want to initiate it again, you can simply click on start recording once again. Now, if you want to clear out the information in the performance analyzer, you can simply click on clear. All this information is erased and is not saved. Now, if you have to save, you can simply click on export, and this will open up a JSON file that you can simply click on save, and this will save in your local. And then I can click on clear, and every information is now gone. Let me again do a bit of recording. Let me as well make some changes to the slicer. So you see I change the slicer and then I click on, so again there are options of refresh visuals. So let me also tell you a bit about this. So you can select refresh visuals in the performance analyzer pane to refresh all the visuals on the current page of the report and thereby have performance analyzer gather information about all such visuals. And not just that, so there's a refresh visual button. So this is refresh visual and then you can see that okay, refreshing also took a bit of time. You can also refresh individual uh, visuals, right? You There are options to refresh individual visuals as well. uh, Also, what else do I want to show you? Hmm. As I've told you how to save this information, I have also told you how to clear this information and record and stop this. There is also another thing is there is analyze this visual, right? This is quite important. So you click on analyze this visual and this visual will be analyzed separately, that you see over here, sum of profit by country. This is refreshed and analyzed separately. So if you only want to analyze a particular visual, you can even do so. Great. I think we have covered sufficient information about Performance Analyzer, how to use it, how to start and stop the recordings, export the data, and how to interpret the data, that which visual is taking the longest. So you see that over here, if I change the slicer, this sum of gross sales by product and this particular slicer is taking a lot of milliseconds, and then you can, check further. Okay, what is causing it? If a DAX query, if a visual query, or if some geocoding etc. is taking long, then all of that can be determined over here, and then you can see the ways to optimize how you can improve it. If you can, then you can totally remove it and improve the performance loading of the page, or otherwise if you have to keep it, how can you improve that particular visual. Great, this was all about performance analyzer. This is very important and will be very handy for you if you have a huge dashboard with a lot of visuals and slicers, and if your page is getting slowed down, if your users are complaining about your charts, loading very slow, then in that case, Performance Analyzer is the great friend of yours that will help you find out who's the culprit and resolve it. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Hi everyone, and welcome back. In this lecture, let's quickly have a look at some common tips and tricks that seasoned Power BI developers use to create their dashboards. Number one is to consider your audience. So, what are the key metrics that will help your audience make decisions? How will the report be used? What learned or cultural assumptions might affect design choices? What information does your audience need to be successful? For example, if I'm displaying a store sales overview, it's good to share the number of new stores that have recently opened and also the total stores that we have in place. Ask yourself, where is the report going to be displayed? If it will be on a large monitor, you can put more content on it. If readers will view it on their tablets, then fewer visualizations are more readable. Of course, you can choose to change your layout view by choosing the button over here, which is the desktop layout view, and also the mobile layout view. The second common idea to create a dashboard is to tell a story and keep it to one screen. Each report page should tell a story at a glance. We have multiple pages over here, and every page tells the user something. Can you avoid scroll bars on your pages? Is the report or too busy? You should remove all and keep only essential information that can be easily read and interpreted. The third tip is make the most important information biggest. For example, In the store sales overview, we have kept the number of new stores, which is the key highlight for most of the readers, as what are the number of new stores that have recently opened. And I have displayed it very clearly over here in bold and on top and biggest, right? So if the text and visualizations on your report pages are all the same size, your readers will have a hard time focusing on what's most important. Card visualizations are a good way to display an important number prominently that we have simply done over here. Also, be sure to provide context. Use features such as text boxes and tooltips to add context to your visualizations. For example, the information of new stores is quite important over here to display. You cannot just hide this because it's important to provide context. And you should also mention new stores, total stores. If this is a monthly report, you can also mention new stores opened in the month of December or January 2023 or 2024, whatever comes. So make sure that you provide context. Also, put the most important information in the upper corners. So most people read from top to bottom. So put the highest level of detail at the top and show more detail as you move in the direction the audiences use for reading. It can be from left to right, right to left, top to bottom, etc. And these are some of the important tips. We will also discuss how to pick up the right visualization in the coming lecture. But in order to create an overall easy looking, practical looking, and corporate level dashboard, these are some of the basic tips and the basic concepts that you must follow and create your beautiful Power BI dashboard. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Hi, everyone, and welcome back. In this lecture, we will have a look at some very important tips and ideas to use the right visualization for your data. And this is one of the most critical discussions and brainstorming that you will do when creating reports in Power BI or any other BI tool. See, avoid visualization variety for the sake of variety. Visualizations should paint a picture and be easy to read and interpret. For some data and visualizations, a simple graphic visual is enough. However, other data might call for a more complex visualization. So be sure to make use of titles and labels and other customization to help the reader. Be careful when you use charts that distort reality, such as 3D charts and charts that do not start at zero. Keep in mind that it's more difficult for the human brain to interpret 3D shapes. Pie charts, donut charts, gauges, other chart types might look pretty, but perhaps there is a different visual you can use instead. Second, be consistent with chart scales on axis, chart dimension ordering, and also the colors used for dimension values within charts. And for example, in order to look at the axis over here, you can simply select a chart, go to visualization, the first one, and if you scroll down, you have the axis, legends, etc. over here. And then there are more options under beautification that you can quickly have a look at and go to visual, change, the x-axis and the values, title, layout, etc. Everything can be customized over here. So be consistent with all of this and make sure this is all same. Then be sure to encode quantitative data nicely, right? Don't exceed 3 or 4 numerals when displaying numbers. Display measures to 1 or 2 numerals left of the decimal point and scale for thousands or millions. For example, it should be 3.4 million, but not 134000000, some big numerals that are very difficult for the user to read and make your chart more cluttered. Next is try to avoid mixing levels of precision and time, right? Make sure that time frames are well understood. Don't have one chart that has last month next to filtered charts from a specific month of the year. Also, try to avoid mixing large and small measures on the same scale, such as on a line or bar chart. For example, one measure can be in the millions, another measure can be in the thousands. With such a large scale, it is difficult to see the differences of the measure that's in thousands. If you need to mix, choose a visualization like a combo chart that allows the use of a second axis. For example, if I have some numbers like 1 million over here, and then maybe some other numbers over here, it will be difficult if something is 1 million over here and 300k for the next chart, next bar. It makes it very difficult for the reader to interpret the differences, and that's why a common scale is definitely preferable. Avoid cluttering your charts with data labels that are not needed. You know, the values in bar charts, if large enough, are usually understood without displaying the actual number. Also, pay attention to how charts are sorted. If you want to draw attention to the highest or lowest number, sort by the measure. If you want people to be able to quickly find a particular category within many other categories, you should sort by the axis. Also, pie charts, they are the best if they have fewer than 8 categories. Now, because you cannot compare values side by side, it's harder to compare values in a pie chart than in bar and column charts. Pie chart can be good for viewing part to whole relationships rather than for comparing the parts. Gauche charts are great for displaying the current status in the context of a goal. So, all of these tips that I have shared are some of the very important points that you must keep in mind when picking up the right chart or even formatting the chart that you have. There are a lot of different books and online videos about this. Uh, you can definitely go through. I will also recommend to use there is a dashboard development guide and checklist. So if you scroll down, you will find a beautiful blog that I have written. Uh, it's on princepatni.com and it says a complete dashboard development guide and checklist. So this particular blog contains a lot of great information about some different courses on dashboard development, some books, type of dashboards, design principles, best practices, standards and guidelines, design tips, etc. And there is also a choose the right graphs point, and that will take you to over here, and it asks you what do you want to display. You want to display a relationship, maybe a scatter or a bubble chart can do. If you want to display comparison, a column or a bar chart will be helpful. Composition is best displayed by a heat map, tree map, or a pie donut chart, whereas a distribution is again better with a scatter plot. Also, if you have maybe a comparison over time, then line chart is better. If you want to have a composition over time, then a stacked column chart is better. There's another beautiful graph that will be very helpful for you. It asks you what would you like to show. If you want to show comparison, distribution, composition, relationship. Let's say you want to show comparison. Then if you want to show comparison amongst items, but what are the variables? Is like two variables per item or one variable per item. And then again in one variable per item if there are many categories or few categories. Similarly, for comparison, if you want to do a comparison over time, then if you want to do a comparison over time for many periods or for few periods, you can even decide and then choose the right graph. For example, if you want to display composition that is static versus a composition that is changing over time, then we have different charts based on your selection of the kind of data that you have and kind of chart that you might want to display. So this post will be very helpful. You can just simply search for dashboard development guidance checklist, and you'll find in the top two or top three in your Google search results. Make use of this, and this will definitely be very, very helpful for you. It's in my blog, and you can reach out to me if you have any questions. So, with this, we will end this lecture. I hope this was very helpful for you to understand the kind of charts that you can create depending on the data that you have, and also the kind of formatting you should have when selecting any chart type. These are some common tips that are applicable across any BI tool, even if you are creating something in Excel or Power BI. Thank you, and I will see you in the next lecture.
Welcome back, everyone. Tell me honestly, if you are working in Power BI, do you ever get frustrated using Power BI and struggle because you cannot get answers to your questions? Or if you are still learning Power BI, then are you worried where you will look for help when you are stuck with anything in Power BI? Then let me give you some tips in this lecture that Power BI experts commonly follow to find answers to their Power BI questions. The tip number one, and the very common tip, is to use a search engine. Well, experts who need answers for Power BI often use search. For example, to find a DAX formula for a common business calculation, you can use the internet to find solutions. Bookmark where you find the best answers, and then create a folder for yourself for the tips and answers you find. For example, if you type in Google DAX formula to remove duplicates, you will get some answers, and that's something that you can try. Let's search for DAX formula to extract month from date. So you can use some functions that you will find over here. So you will see some top URLs, you will see Microsoft documentation, you will see community responses, you will see Stack Overflow, and you will see a lot of responses from different people who have tried different solutions, and you will also get the working solution. Well, the next tip I'll probably give you is to check the Power BI documentation. So the Power BI team is continually updating and improving the Power BI documentation. You can find great content, including recordings of webinars, white papers, tutorials, how-to articles, and link to blog posts of all the latest features. And it is very well segregated. You will see the options to get started, tutorials, concepts, trainings, the how-to guide, and you will also see some more stuff here towards the bottom: how to get started, how to connect to data, collaborate, Power BI for business users, how to do modeling, support. So you will see good, very amazing content that you must start with, and that should be your first source of truth whenever you have any question in Power BI. The next thing I will suggest you to do is read the Power BI blog for the latest news. The Power BI team explains all the new features in their regular Power BI blog post. You can find out what's new in everything from Power BI desktop to the Power BI mobile apps. Make it a habit of returning often to learn about the new features released each month. You never know when you will benefit from that bit of information you noticed months ago. So you will find all of the blog articles over here, and you will see all of these blogs by category and by date. So you can have a look at all these different blogs, and you never know, there is something that you will find yourself useful. For example, dataset refresh history enhancements, supporting Azure Active Directory for Power BI mobile apps. There can be a lot that can be helpful for you. Another important thing I can recommend you is using Power BI YouTube channel. If the videos fit your learning style better, you can go ahead and go for MS Power BI user in YouTube. There are a lot of videos that will be really helpful for you. All the latest updates, all the recent announcements, good learning videos you will find over here. That will be very, very helpful for you. The next thing I'll recommend is to attend the learning paths in the Power BI training. So the training options available to you are nearly endless, from in-person lab training to short videos. So all of this is live. There are on-demand trainings, there are recorded videos, there are webinars that can be really helpful. And not just that, we have a lot of amazing courses and learning materials on Udemy, on EDX, on LinkedIn Learning. You will find some really good training that you can do to learn Power BI, and this can be one of the best ways you can get responses if you are stuck or some concepts are not clear for you in Power BI. The next tip I'll give you is to go ahead and try the webinars. So there are some Power BI webinars. This website will help you. Go ahead and look at the upcoming webinars, the featured webinars, on-demand webinars. All of this is available to you. So if I look at the upcoming events from Power BI community link, you will have a look at all of these upcoming master classes that are happening. Some of them are online, some of them are in person and offline. There are a lot of dashboard in a day training sessions, so that can be very useful. It's a free 1 day workshop covering the capabilities of Power BI, and that's something in partnership with Gemini and Microsoft. So that can be really helpful. So the next thing that you should do is go ahead and have a look at the Microsoft Power BI community, ask questions and find answers here. BI experts around the world are active in this community, and the questions are usually answered very quickly. So make sure to benefit from their knowledge by using this resource. You can simply sign in and maybe ask questions and look at different solutions that a lot of people have provided, a lot of questions that others have asked. There are a lot of different categories inside, like training and consulting, galleries, ideas, issues, events, community blog, etc. That will be very helpful for you. So you can explore this content and make use of that. Now, the next thing I'll tell you is to join or create a Fabric user group. So earlier it was Power BI user group. So all Power BI user groups are now Fabric user group. So you can ask your group for help in answering your questions, or you start your own user group and create a community of people who help each other out, focused on your needs in your area for your data and also in your time zone. So if you scroll down, you will see that it's giving me a lot of user groups around me. So currently I'm in Delhi, India, and it's giving me a Power BI Delhi user group. So let's say you are in Australia, so you can probably search Australia and it will tell you all the different groups in Melbourne, in Adelaide, in Queensland. You'll find something specific for Sydney probably. So you can do all of that if you are somewhere in United States of America. You can simply search US and it will tell you all the different groups that are currently in US. Higher education Power BI user group, Arizona Fabric user group. So you can join these groups basis on your location. And most importantly, whenever you come here and your location is automatically captured, it will automatically tell you all the groups around you. And then once you join, you can click on your groups, and then you can find out what's happening, the recent activity in your groups. If you are going for any upcoming events, all of that can happen. You can also choose to browse events that are happening around you, and then have a look what's happening. Will probably join and see if anything is of your interest. One more thing that will help you is check the service status. So if you're having an issue with the service, it may be that the service itself is having issues. So this is the Fabric status dashboard that will tell you the status for all the different Fabric experiences, including Power BI, for all the different regions. So everything is green right now. That means Fabric and Power BI and Data Factory, everything is working good. But if there is an outage, it will probably have a symbol like this, outage over here. And if there is any information that you might want to know, this will be marked in this particular I symbol. So it tells you if there is any service, any awareness. There are also any current known issues that Microsoft is aware of and they are working on it. So that will come up over here. So all of these issues are over here. If you want to look at something in Power BI, what's happening. So currently there are some issues that are active. For example, export to CSV file is truncated at 300 rows. If you are facing this issue, let me tell you that, hey, this is active and this will soon be resolved. For example, there are some other issues. For example, uh, yep, the newly added content in organizational app doesn't show as in first load. It was an issue before, but then it was raised and Power BI team fixed it. So it it is now currently working fine. So this is something that you must use as a part of your activity whenever you're facing issues. Also check the Fabric status dashboard, and that will help you to find out if your service is if the whole service is down or if something that's happening only at your end. The two another tips that I'll probably give you is also to look at Twitter and LinkedIn. LinkedIn as well has a lot of Power BI groups that you can join in and see what others are posting, ask questions, give answers, help the community grow. Another thing is Twitter. Yes, you can put up a hashtag like Power BI or Power BI help, and you can ask questions on Twitter, and that can really be helpful. A lot of people are active on Twitter. uh, Ask your questions in a tweet, add the hashtags, so the people know who see your tweet and they can respond to you. The last thing that I'll probably also add over here is use Chat GPT and Google Bard for answers. They are really advanced, LLMs. They will really help you with solutions, and that can be one of the quickest way to get answers. Let's say you're looking for a DAX formula to extract month from a date timestamp. You can simply give this entire prompt in Chat GPT or Google Bard, and you will get some instant answers. Again, there's a disclaimer that that answer might or might not work, so you have to keep testing it. And if suppose you get an answer that works but doesn't suit your problem, you might have to change your prompt, give it a bit more context, and then ask ChatGPT or Google Bard again and get answers and then try again. I am quite sure all of these ways will be really, really helpful for you and can help you uh, when you are stuck somewhere. One thing that I have missed, and that's something very important, is that whenever you are in the Power BI, wherever you are, there is this help and support option over here. So once you click this, this is a context sensitive help menu. If you are in Power BI, it will show you the help and other resources about Power BI. If you are at a different place, if you are probably doing some data exploration and data science and data engineering, this whole menu will change. So that's something very important to know. This help will tell you some really good things. Gives you really good articles to begin with and videos. You can get started with reports and gives you a link that will help you reach the documentation and the training page. It helps you how what are the visualization types in Power BI, probably because you are currently developing visuals. What are the current forum topics that are being active. You might want to know about this a bit more. So all of this is possible, and then there are other resources over here that can help you submit ideas, ask the community, get help. All of this is possible from this help button. Again, it's a very useful and context sensitive help. So whatever you are doing, if you are doing something different than what you see on the screen right now, the help and support menu will change and will give you more context sensitive articles and videos that will help you. Great. I hope this lecture was useful and will give you a bit more peace that yes, there is a lot of exciting content over the web. There are a lot of communities, there are a lot of groups, a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of training materials, a lot of courses, a lot of help that is available to you. And not just help, there are communities that are active, that conducts events, that write blogs, that keeps on experimenting with new ideas. You will find a lot of great and vibrant stuff and activities that are happening around Power BI that will keep your interest active in this particular product, that can be really, really helpful for you to upskill and keep you employed throughout, because Power BI is a tool that will definitely be one of the best tools to be in the skill set of the organizations that are hiring for a very good role and paycheck. Great, that's it for this lecture. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.